Good day, teachers. I am Catherine Breese, a proud 30-year public school teacher, currently serving as instructional technology resource teacher for Montgomery County Public Schools in Virginia. I'm a Google certified trainer and an ISTE certified educator. I am also an ostrich, or at least I did used to be. What I hope to do for you today is to help you feel okay about popping your head up out of the sand, uncovering your eyes and ears, and taking a walk through the reality of AI in education. Don't worry, my plan is a gentle one. There will be no crying. There is no crying in instructional technology. And your anxiety should be a bit lower. My intention is to help you come to grips with where we are at this moment. I hope you will be more knowledgeable, and I hope you will feel inspired to start having conversations with your colleagues about this topic. First, I do want to tell you a little bit about ostriches. An ostrich is the only bird that has two toes. Ostriches have the largest eye of any bird. Ostriches are the fastest running birds, and they can run at continuous speeds of 30 to 37 miles per hour and sprint up to 43 miles per hour. Ostriches do not bury their head in the sand when frightened. They bury their eggs in the sand, and they use their beaks to check and turn their eggs. So let me try to get you captivated by showing you a few things that I learned how to do this year. The image I made was using Adobe Express. The conversation with the ostrich that I had, that was using School AI Spaces. And at the end, you saw me have a conversation with Anthropic Claude. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about machine learning and large language models in order to catch you up with what these are. This is not esoteric. Because AI works in such a different way than computers have worked up to this point in history, it's actually important to understand how it does work, because how it works actually defines what it is. Machine learning is actually a subset of artificial intelligence. There are other types, but for our purposes today, I am going to use the words interchangeably. They are not actually interchangeable. So instead of programming a computer to accomplish things step by step with a bunch of if-then statements, computers learn, quotation marks there, in a way that is more like but not exactly like the human brain. In machine learning, extremely large quantities of data function like human experience. The computer gobbles up large amounts of data and then recognizes patterns in the data and makes predictions based on those patterns. I'm going to illustrate machine learning right now by taking us to a site that is called Google Quick Draw. And you're going to watch me draw.
I see rainbow, or animal migration. I see sun. Oh, I know, it's crab. I see ocean, or river. Oh, I know, it's beach. I see circle. I see garden hose. Oh, I know, it's avocado. I see me. Oh, I know, it's square.
Ooh, I should be good at this one.
I see me. Or nose. Oh, I know, it's wine bottle. I see line. Oh, I know, it's rake.
All right. Oh, my wine bottle's not very good. Now, when we head over to see what Google's doing with all these pictures, you'll see that they have utilized our 50 million drawings to help train the computer about how humans illustrate certain concepts. The computer sees patterns and it makes predictions based on those patterns. I think an interesting one to look at is the aircraft carrier. And you'll notice that machine learning hasn't really learned what an aircraft carrier is all that well, because many people were not able to draw an aircraft carrier, and they misunderstood an aircraft carrier to be a plane rather than a ship. You can see a lot of planes in here instead of ships. We're seeing a hint here, a little hint, at the limitations of machine learning, and also we're seeing how bias ends up in AI. Generative AI responds to prompts. Prompts and prompting are very popular topics in EdTech right now. To generate images, text, audio, or video from its training data set, we human people need to be reminded that it's a computer, and to help us avoid the temptation of anthropomorphizing it. So here are some verbs that you need to use tactically. The verbs are create and generate. Create is something people do, and generate is something computers do. This is a distinction that I learned from Tom Mullaney, who is one of the other presenters in the summer series. Large language models, or LLMs, like Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, etc., are generative AI that use large data sets gathered or scraped from the internet and algorithmic rules to perform natural language processing, sometimes called NLP. The results are human-sounding content. As they work, LLMs are in essence making predictions of what would be the next best word in any given sentence. It works like autocomplete does on your phone, but on a much larger and fancier scale. When you interact with an LLM, you talk or write, and it responds, and it's easy to start thinking of it as a person. But we always must remember that it's generating, not creating. And it's not really talking to you. It's actually predicting the next most likely word in each interaction that it has with you. AI engineers design guardrails within the rules of LLMs to prevent inappropriate or unwanted content from being generated. Anytime that you run into something that you think is inappropriate, you should definitely report it because it helps them fix that. AI-generated responses are not copyrighted. Currently, the MLA and the APA recommend citing it as a conversation. That's in quotation marks there. I really don't recommend using AI-generated content in an academic paper unless it's a paper that's about AI. Finally, most of the AI being marketed at educators, things like Magic School, School AI, and Conmingo, Twee, etc., are powered by LLMs, large language models. Usually they will tell you which one on sometimes they're multiple, on their information page, which LLM is running in the background and generating the content. So why are some people so resistant to AI and worried about the use of AI? Well, as educators, you know that if you're looking at a slide and the words bias, privacy, and equity are all on one slide, there are some genuine concerns. And talking with your colleagues is the very best single way that we can all make sure that this powerful new technology is being utilized in a manner that benefits everyone and avoids causing harm. Let's start with privacy. Large data sets are scraped from the whole internet and may include information that is intended to be private or is copyrighted. There are many lawsuits currently underway brought by individuals who say that they have seen evidence of their own copyrighted works generated in the works by LLMs. And let's not forget that copyright or the right to earn money from your own creative work is actually in the United States Constitution. So it is a very, very important issue. Next, equity. Bias in the data and inequitable access to groups of people are significant problems that we're going to definitely have to confront. Equity of access. Well, if you remember the days when having a calculator was a big advantage for those students that had one, and probably most of you don't, but I do. Well, the difference between a student who has access to generative AI and one who does not is many, many times larger than that calculator gap. And then finally, bias, and I'm going to show you some more examples of that in just a wee bit, but we're human and we are biased. And that bias ends up as part of large data sets used in training AI. And obviously, the other part of that is that, the people who are training the AI, putting the data in, are also human and therefore biased. So let's talk a little bit more about bias in the data. If this that you're looking at right now is a data set for U.S. presidents, and I asked you to be a computer and make a prediction exclusively based on these pictures, what picture would you produce? Well, I decided to try this, and I went to several image generators that are free, and I prompted, here's my prompt, a president of the United States sitting behind a desk in the Oval Office. Dream Studio generated something close to what I was expecting and maybe close to what you think might happen also. Firefly clearly has more rules in place for this prompt, and you can really see here they attempt to generate a more inclusive array of people who could, in fact, be president of the United States. But what rule are they missing? Well, you do have to be 35 years old to be the president of the United States, and these sweet babies are certainly not yet 35. Lastly, I went to Canva, and these were the results that I got. And to be frank, I was a little shocked because they seem, well, highly biased. In fact, I did actually report this prompt to Canva. I did some thinking about this result, and I have concluded that it's probably not a conspiracy dreamed up by the tech bros or the tech giants, but rather the result of this person being one of the single most photographed people on the internet who was also a president, or it's a conspiracy. So finally, ethics. As AI changes and becomes smarter, ethical concerns will become obvious. What is its potential to cause harm? How will people with ill intentions misuse its power? And how will interacting with non-human chatbots change us as human beings who have hearts and souls? Okay, well, I am not quite through with the bad news yet, so just hold on to your hats and then we're going to get to the good stuff. So the last piece of negative information about LLMs is that sometimes they make things up. And if you are an expert in your field of study and you read carefully and you read critically, then AI will probably be a good and effective assistant for you. However, if you're not an expert or you're not a careful or critical reader, then there is a chance that you might end up sharing erroneous information with others or acting upon erroneous information that was generated by an LLM. Will you be replaced by a robot teacher? Short answer, no. Longer answer, ask any fifth grade teacher near the end of May, after standardized testing is over but before the end of the year, if they could be replaced. Are you kidding? Who could do that job? Only a human with utterly bottomless patience, love, and understanding can keep kids engaged and learning. However, while the tech giants aren't talking loudly about this particular consequence, AI already is and will continue to replace some workers, although I don't think teachers. So how are humans smarter than ChatGPT is? This graphic from TechTarget illustrates 3 ways that human intelligence is still superior to AI. 1. We humans don't require very much data upon which to draw an inference or make a conclusion. In fact, we can make inferences based on a single example. 2, we have imaginations that work freely and creatively and allow us to think of things that don't actually exist. For AI, it is meshing up things, data, recombining them, rather than actually inventing them. And 3, we can learn from all 5 of our senses and make instant decisions based on those sensory inputs. And AI is not there yet, although I would say of the 3, that's the one that it's the closest on, because we do have self-driving cars as an example there. All right, so tell me, Catherine, how is AI going to be making life on Earth better for us? Well, here are a few ways that AI can help us all. The first way is in healthcare. More accurate diagnoses than humans, speed up drug development, monitor patients. In manufacturing, AI will be able to improve accuracy, efficiency, and reduce danger to workers. In agriculture, it will help us make more accurate predictions for planting and harvesting. In transportation, it can help us control traffic. There are self-driving vehicles, which is kind of a cool idea. You might be thinking, well, how about global problems like poverty, hunger, war, climate change? Can it help with those things? Yes. But will we, human people, mankind, choose to put these issues to the forefront and use it for those purposes? So that's really on us. Are we going to harness AI to advance mankind? So how can those large language models help teachers who are doing good work? Well, you saw a tiny sampling of the tasks it can perform earlier. And in addition to the potential for individualized instruction that AI has, it can really act as a teaching assistant for educators. There are plenty of startup companies, these are called wrappers because they're taking LLMs and repackage them, who want to be your AI personal teaching assistant. These sites have developed in the last 2 years. New ones sprout up every day. My email box is full of them. They can help you do everything. Write an email, plan a meeting agenda, write lesson plans, write quizzes, differentiate text for students with differing abilities, translate speech to text, even grade student writing based on a rubric. Yep. No matter your role in schools, I know one of those things must be appealing. I encourage you to try some of the sites that are on this slide. Here's a brief demonstration of how you might enjoy using an AI teaching assistant. So let's start in School AI. We're going to try out their assistant called Project-Based Activity Expert. And I'm going to ask it to help me give me some ideas for 5th grade math standard that I'm just going to paste in. So those looked interesting. Let's ask it for a little more help with one of them. Next, I want to demonstrate maybe a couple of things in Magic School. Magic School does many teaching assistant type things. Let's start with having it write an email for us. And it starts with a nice greeting. I'm writing to inform you that we're making a change to our indoor recess activities. Moving forward, we have decided to discontinue the practice. Yada, yada, yada. Social interaction and critical thinking skills. We believe this adjustment will not only foster a sense of community and collaboration, but also provide them with opportunities. So you see, it really expanded on something that I didn't even put in the prompt. But this is a pretty good email. I would adjust it a little bit, but basically I'm ready to send this guy, right? Magic School has two tools that you can use with YouTube videos. It has a question maker and a video summarizer. Let's try the question maker. So 5th grade will be the grade level. Let's ask it to write 5 questions. That gives you a few extras in case you want to toss out any of the questions. And then you just paste in a video. This one is about the tides. And it's got a check mark, which means there's already a transcript for that. If you paste in a video that there's not a transcript for, it generally won't work. And you just click generate. So not only did it generate 5 questions, but also gave us the key right here, their multiple choice, and the moment in the video where that particular question is answered. Obviously, at this point, I would go through each and every question, reading it carefully, and also checking all of the answers to make sure that those are the choices that I want there for my 5th graders. And it's ready to pop into a Google Doc and edit, or maybe pop into a Google form and make that self-grading. So our next stop is ChatGPT. I do not have a paid account here, so this is whatever version of ChatGPT is currently free on the internet. And I'm going to ask it to write a poem for me this morning. This website called ttsmp3.com is a website that uses AI to generate audio based on text. And so this is actually a paid version. I have reached my free limit for today, so I can't show you the free version of this. But it does what this does. You just can't do too much of it. So I'm just going to paste in the first 2 stanzas of that poem that ChatGPT generated for us. And I'm going to see what it sounds like.
The dance of force and motion. In a world of science bright and grand.
So I can try different voices also.
The dance of force and motion. In a world of science bright and grand.
Okay, so there you go. And then you can just download it as an MP3 file and save that and use it in a slideshow or whatever else you want to use it for. Now we're over on a site called Perplexity. Perplexity is also a large language model, but it does work a little bit differently than the other ones do because it actually identifies the sources of its information and gives those to you. This is the free version we're using right now here of Perplexity. So you can see what it generates. First of all, is a sort of little mini paper. And it also, in each place, here's the sources where everything came from. And then throughout the generated answer, it also places these little footnotes to let you know the original sources of the information in this. If I found an article that I want my students to read about whale sharks, and I love this article and it contains sort of the concepts that I want to get to, but maybe I think this is a little bit above my students' reading ability, I'm going to use a website called Diffit. Diffit is DIFFIT, or Diffit for Teachers. I can actually paste the URL of the article in, so I'm going to try that right now. And I would like it reading level adjusted to 5th grade. And we're going to stick with English for right now. And let's go ahead and generate some resources. So here's what it's created. I'm not signed in right now because I have a paid account here. And I wanted to kind of show you what it does without signing into that paid account. Here's the reading passage. It does a summary, bulleted points, and it generates key vocabulary terms from the article. It generates multiple choice questions, short answer questions, and some open-ended questions. This is a website called Question Well for Teachers, and I'm going to be, I think, maybe a little bit vague on my prompt here and just see kind of what happens. So I don't necessarily need 10 questions. Let's go 5, and let's fill this in. English, 8th grade sounds good to me. For civics, I could put in some text, but I'm not going to, and I'm also just not going to put those standard in, but obviously you could paste in your specific state standards here. And let's just generate some questions. All right, so this is what it generated for me. Kind of gave me a reading passage, and then told me what the learning outcomes were. Excellent. And there's our 5 multiple choice questions. So, of course, at this point, super important that you critically read every single question and every answer choice to make sure that it is correct and also that it is addressing the exact standards that you want it to have.
How is AI going to impact education? Depends on who you ask. But in my own estimation, it is potentially the single most significant change in the history of modern education. There is a great potential for individualizing instruction that we really haven't had before. And the existence of AI certainly calls educators to prepare their students for a quickly changing world. I have done a lot of thinking about it. I've read a lot of articles, I have experimented, and I've conversed with my colleagues pretty regularly, and it is still happening way too fast. However, I do have some suggestions for how we can all be prepared for this change. And now for a brief word about cheating. LLMs can certainly be used to do student homework for them, and as of today, there is no AI detector that I would rely on to find cheating in a student's work. Your best bet: find other ways to have students demonstrate their learning other than an at-home essay. So looking ahead in the classroom, teachers, continue to teach content and go deeper. We want students to recognize bad or incorrect information when they see it. AI is not supposed to be our spare brain or the opportunity to offload all of our knowledge to the cloud. We need to continue to build intellectual strength and actual content knowledge in our human brains. That being said, emphasize process over product. So asking students, well, how did you arrive at that answer? Rather than just the answer is the end of the discussion. Focus on critical thinking. For critical thinking, deeper content knowledge is required. You can't think deeply about something that you know little about, but critical thinking is how we are going to move this world forward. Emphasize problem solving. Students doing the work in their own brains, accessing their long-term memory and building those synaptic connections. Teaching students to think in a world where answers are easily generated by a computer will be the ultimate test of us all. I purport that creative thinking, critical thinking, and problem solving done by human brains will advance culture and maybe even save the world. Discuss your expectations with your students. Be consistently, constantly clear about when it's appropriate to use AI tools and what you're exactly allowed to do with them. Model AI transparency. Tell your students when you're using AI to do your work. I made this image with Firefly. And then, of course, teaching students about machine learning and AI. Finally, it is just important for us all to keep saying this out loud and to each other. Never use anything that was generated by an LLM with students without thoroughly and critically reading and correcting it. Do your due diligence. Look things up. It is entirely on us to be sure that we are not teaching something that is incorrect or hallucinated to students as a fact. So in the halls, have conversations with your colleagues, your teacher friends. Discuss ethics. Have open and frank conversations. This will help everyone. And again, model that AI transparency. Yes, I am repeating myself, but it's super important that we be honest with everybody about how we're actually doing our work and looking ahead in the real world. Always be looking for better ways to teach and learn. Keep reading about AI in the news. Practice creativity and resilience and praise yourself for those things. Be honest. If something looks or feels wrong, biased, unethical, or incorrect, stop, say so, and fix it. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me today. I hope that I have relieved some fears, inspired some curiosity, and invited you to begin your own personal journey with AI. Be brave, be kind, and do good work.